passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in, touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond.
Swinging it right! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jarid Watson.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Andy and Jarid, Cleveland and beyond. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jarid Watson, and we're going to recap
Cleveland Browns.
a strange Browns win. I think we can call it strange because there were times today where it didn't look like they were going to pull out the victory, and man, it's one guy that seems to be leading the way when it comes to grinding this thing out, and it's Baker Mayfield once again with an amazing game. Crazy touchdown pass to begin the game. He's the glue, man, with all these guys on the field and keeping them going. And, you know, when there's mistakes, when there's turnovers, when there's penalties, drop passes, they're staying together as a team, and that all comes down to Baker. Andy, what did you think today watching this game? I was pretty stressed through the first half.
Yeah, I was too. I thought, you kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, Baker Mayfield outplayed Cam Newton, and I would argue that was the difference in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he really made every big throw he had to in this game. Newton, down the stretch in the second half, had to make big throws down the field, and he either missed a wide receiver or threw an interception in the game. I mean, it was very odd. We're usually in the reverse position, but not in this case. And I'll tell you, the Panthers came right out the gate, really showed McCaffrey off. He did a nice job. The Panthers did getting the ball right down the field, but Baker really is, the glue. He's everything. You never want to put everything on the quarterback at times, but you have to, in this game. He was everything. Baker Mayfield won this game for the Browns. And he's done that a couple times this year where you can debate it. I don't know how you debate it otherwise in this game. He won the game for the Browns.
Absolutely.
18 out of 22. Two
those numbers don't even do him justice, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll tell you, some people are saying 3 drops. I'll give them 2 for sure. David and Higgins, they both dropped the ball.
Yeah, one was a throwaway, too.
One was a throwaway, right.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable today. When the Panthers scored like that, to come right out and throw the ball to Perriman the way he did, and, I'm jumping all over the place, but Perriman's another guy. You got to keep him happy. He has become a nice little nugget for this team. Really plays well in big spots. But Baker was the difference today. Whether he's throwing the ball deep, whether he's throwing the ball short, every throw he had to make, Baker made. There was no drop off between halves. He was just as sharp in the second half. In fact, it wasn't for a turnover by Landry. I think Baker would have had better numbers. He really in the third quarter, the Browns were never on the field.
Third quarter was rather frustrating.
But it was a grinding quarter, and the Browns gutted it out. I'll say the third quarter was a quarter in this game. You kind of feel the game slipping away, but they gutted it out. They somehow stay alive, and you could just feel after that the Browns had a real chance not only to keep the game close but win the game, and they did. The other guy, too, who had his moment there with the fumble. Landry was very good today, honestly. He had 2 strong carries. Both were huge plays. One was a touchdown, and the other one set up the game-winning touchdown to Chubb. So Landry really had some moments. I have no idea what he was thinking, keeping the ball with one hand on that fumble play. He knows better. I was stunned when I saw that replay, and he was palming the ball with one hand, running the ball around. It's just asking the ball to get stripped, and it did. The pass attempt, that goes on everybody. Freddie Kitchens drew it up, so I'm not going to be too hard on Landry there. Yeah. But, that was we all agree. What
are they got to stop doing that.
I know. I'm not going to get too much on him today because I like what Freddie Kitchens does on offense. I really do. I love the small wishbone things that he does with Landry.
Right.
I think that's smart. I would rather see that done with Landry and not being seen done with our quarterback. And that's what I like about it. I don't want to put Baker in danger. I don't want to do that. But I love when you see Landry coming out like that and running and gutting through the offensive line. I love it. I think that's very smart. Basically going misdirection with Landry twice. Hey, you may want to start doing that more. Both those times it really worked. And again, Landry, aside from the strip fumble, really had a great day. Nick Chubb's not going to get sexy award points from most, but if you watch the game and know his team, Chubb is just a stud. Again, 13 carries, 66 yards, 1 touchdown.
Legs that wouldn't quit on very, very difficult downs. Legs that would not stop.
Yes. Yeah, really, on the touchdown, too, was great. Really dove his way, wanted the touchdown. He's obviously our ace in the hole. The only thing I'll say that I don't want to get too hung up on, but you and I talked about it via text today. Not sure what to say. I know Duke Johnson had some family stuff going on. I'm sure it's playing some sort of role here because the last 2 games, has just been – it's not just play calling. Something's off. He did not look sharp today. I'm being truthful.
Yeah, I don't know if he looks sluggish.
Again,
Did you lose me there, Andy? I apologize. And anyone who's watching right now, we may have some technical issues with our audio.
Yes, yes, we are. It's like raining. It's like raining down. Are you back now?
I think I'm here. Am I here?
You are here. I hear you now. Nice and clear. But going back, Duke Johnson really is going to have to figure out some. I don't want to get too harpish on it because I can see now Chubb can handle all this stuff. But at some point, someone's going to have to. Maybe it's Landry on what I was seeing here today. But this whole thing with Nick Chubb doing everything as a running back, don't know if that can last. But so far, so good. We mentioned Perryman. I know Higgins and it was a terrible fumble. By the way, Luke Kuechly, he's great, right? For the Panthers, I was really impressed with Luke Kuechly today. He's a very not that I would think opposite, but I thought Higgins, even in that moment, I thought it was great that he had a big bounce back catch. You fumble the ball away, you can put your head down and pout. That's something we saw in the past from Browns. I'll mention Greg Little especially. Greg Little comes to mind immediately.
Yes.
Every time he would make a mistake,
I just made me gag.
Out. Oh, yeah, you remember those moments where Greg Little do something and all right, we'll see Greg Little next year. I mean, not only will he not be in this game today, he will not have a moment anymore. But, it was nice to see that from Higgins. So, you can see these things starting to develop. I know a lot of people today after the game had a lot to comment on the offensive line. I'm going to say they did not have their best day, but I didn't think they played poorly either. I know Greg Robinson had a hard time. He had a lot of penalties again today. He's obviously a lot of holds. J.C. Tretter's injury is also playing part in this, in my opinion. I know today was the first time. There's a lot of comments from people who were at the game saying you could see Tretter really having a hard time getting off the field. I've learned over the years when you have someone like that, and I think Tretter is that. I'll tell you guys, I think he's that important that they're making him play. Because I think if they had someone who could fill that role, Jared, I don't think he'd be playing right now.
Well, this is the first time. This is the first time that we've seen a Browns team where players are fighting to stay on the field, Andy, and it's because it's not just Tretter that's hurt right now. There's guys, the torn biceps. There's other issues that are going on. There's a lot of hurt going on with these guys, and they're fighting to be out on the field. And that's just something that guys don't ever come to Cleveland and do.
No, agreed. Again, more the Greg Little moments, but not really today. The game was very, now going back to the game itself, very intense game. The things that really did get to me, though, we were talking about more positive. Here's some things that, obviously they kept the game close. Penalties and turnovers again today were both, I thought, negatives for Browns.
Yeah.
I thought what also to help the Browns is Carolina shot themselves in the foot with bad penalties in big moments in this game. It felt like Carolina at one point in the third quarter was going to take the game over, and they just had penalty after penalty after penalty that just really slowed the drive down, and they ended up just getting a field goal. I thought that was key in this game. And the turnovers, again, I don't want to freak out yet, but we've had a couple games now where turnovers were pretty decisive. The Texans and the Panthers, aside from that late pick by Cam Newton, it was pretty much one-sided. Can't keep living on the edge like that. Need to get that back on your side. So they went 1-1 here. They lost the Texans. They beat the Panthers. I don't know how many more times, Jared, this team can survive not winning the turnover call.
Yeah, poor decisions with the ball seem to be the issue with the turnovers today, and that's something that I think Greg Williams is going to lose his mind over this week. I mean, the picks last week were difficult, but that was something that Baker had to overcome on his own, and he did in the second half of that game. Because if you talk about the first half of this game and the second half of that game, you're talking like 530 yards passing for Baker. So he figured it out and fixed it. Now we just need those guys. And again, it comes down to, I told you when we did the preview for this game, keep your eye on the turnovers and the penalties and see if they grew. And I don't know that they necessarily did. They still look like at times like a sloppy young team that needs to get their S together, and it just is going to be the nature of this beast. Can they hold it together, though, when it counts, which is going to be primetime football next coming week? We'll get to that, obviously, in a little bit, but man, you have to tighten that up. Have to.
You have to. And turnovers today came from Landry and Higgins. Those are guys I'm not expecting to make those turnovers.
Yeah, exactly. You can't get too angry at Higgins. Higgins has produced on a very consistent basis when he hasn't been injured this entire season. So I'm not going to tear him apart. It was difficult to watch him take his eyes off what would have been a touchdown on the incompletion.
I know.
But he'll get over that. The next play, as Baker says, what's the most important play is the next play.
Well, right, and by the way, Higgins bounced back even after his drop.
Right.
I mean, after his fumble. I'm sorry. So I think I agree with you. And by the way, Luke Kuechly made a great play on Higgins. I thought he exposed the ball and he poked it out and had it in the wrong hand. Mm-hmm. Landry was ridiculous. I don't know what Landry was thinking, palming the ball with one hand.
Yes.
You cannot do that.
Dumb.
Do that. I mean, if you palm the ball in one hand and you're swinging in towards the sideline, I mean, you're going to get the ball stripped.
You better be poking that ball over the goal line if you got to do that. That's the only time I want to see that arm reached out with a ball.
Yes. We mentioned this starting in the second half of the Bengals game. We saw this again against the Texans. And then today in the first half, it got a little better in the second, but boy, tackling. I don't know what's really going on with that side of the ball. I could tell in the third quarter they did a better job. I thought it wore out by the fourth again. So I guess I'll say they did tackle for the third. I thought third quarter tackling was pretty solid. First, second, and fourth, woof. There was a lot of lean moments. And yes, I know McCaffrey's good, but my gosh, I thought we made him look good on certain plays. And the thing that I texted you that I saw, which there probably will point out in those moments, I saw Browns pull up in moments where they could have made a tackle to get more, to not necessarily make a big, let's say make a tackle or stop up or whatever, but I'm saying to get yards for first downs. I saw that a couple times, Jared, and
well,
I don't know.
I mean, the only thing I can there's only. The cold weather, I'd say that's the only thing. Not that I'm looking for excuses for these guys, but this is the coldest game they played in this season, right? I mean, maybe that played into it. I can't. That's the only thing I've got, Andy. There's no other excuse. Not that that's even a good excuse. Where I saw issues today early on, it was driving me nuts, and that I felt was the biggest problem was on linebacker play. I felt like they were that especially Jamie Collins did not have a good day today. It didn't seem.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I'm glad you mentioned him. He stood out. I actually thought for the first time all year, Schober played well in the second half. I thought Schober did not play well.
No, he missed tackles.
He was out of place it was weird. Joe Schober had a really weird first half. Again, he cleaned up in the second half, because I did not notice in the second half. But boy, in the first half, he looked weird too. The thing I don't want to make this into a whole podcast, but I will make a note. They're going to have to again attack and get a couple more linebackers or defensive. I would say defensive tackles, guys that are inside the tackle, not ends so much, but tackles. I mean, the Browns really need to do a better job in the interior of this defense. I see the secondary is well improved. I think if you have Denzel Ward back there, I think it's actually top 5 in secondaries that I've seen all year. But when it comes to what you're mentioning, linebacker, which I agree, you can tell when Schobert didn't play well, it was like a disease with the other guys on the team. And again, I don't see the interior of the Browns making plays, defensive tackles. I'm just not seeing that throughout the year. Not seeing it. Not seeing it.
Well,
another big thing in this game too, Jared. Go for it. What are you going to say?
No, because I don't want to cut you off. I think you might be going to where I'm going. So go ahead.
No, well, I'm going to time of possession.
Yeah, that was brutal. I
don't want to harp on this. Yeah, I knew you were. This is becoming my new pet peeve on this team. I don't want to make this a thing. I think time of possession sometimes can be really overplayed, and frankly, the Browns won today, so time of possession did not decide the game clearly. But again, 10 minutes of difference, Jared. That's striking. And the bigger thing to me, in the third quarter, it felt like the Browns never had the ball, and they had the ball to start it off. The Browns have to do a better job at times still of making possessions longer. By the way, the biggest example was what Baker Mayfield did at the end of the game to extend the drive to get them a first down before the 2-minute warning. Huge play in that game. In the third quarter, they at one point only had 4 plays and about late in the third quarter. It's not good.
No.
They're not. Again, I don't want to think it's a difference. I don't think it's a huge worry. These other things to me are bigger. But this is something I'm noticing. They've got to stay on the field longer or they're going to wear out.
Well, it seems like they almost changed kind of the way that they're and tell me if I'm wrong, some play calling seemed different in that third quarter. Instead of setting up some of those screens or the bubble screen or whatever they were doing to get the ball to get Baker into a little bit of a groove that they did in the fourth quarter and that third quarter they tried to run the ball a few times, and then they also had the penalties that were screwing them over. Between those two things, I don't know why they don't.
Yeah,
it was dead runs that were pointless. I think Duke had a rough one. I think Chubb may have had one or two, but there were just times where they'd come out 1st and 10, and all of a sudden you're looking at 2nd and long, and you already feel like that drive's not even going to happen. That's how that third quarter was. That after the first play would go by, you'd be like, yeah, they just don't seem like they're even going to get a first down right now.
Yeah, all right, I'll go inside baseball. This is what I saw. I thought Rivera and the defense did a nice job on the Panthers making adjustments coming out.
Yeah.
And I thought the tone was set because the first play out was a Landry fumble. That Landry fumble was the first play in the third quarter. It set the tone. I mean, it really did. You could feel it during the game. But I thought the Browns did a nice job. I was going to bring this up. I thought the Browns did a nice job of making adjustments themselves going into the fourth quarter. I think that fumble really threw off the Browns. And that happens in sports. That fumble was damning. It didn't cost them the game, but it really affected how things were going. Because, again, it's late in the third quarter, and you've only ran 4 plays. It's not good. And you had the ball first. It's not good.
No.
That dictates a lot in the game. So the Browns overcame it. They figured some things out. But I thought Rivera and that crew did a nice job of making adjustments. And honestly, what saved them? The Browns that was the one quarter after the Browns tackled well. And honestly, it probably saved them the game.
Yeah. Well,
it really did.
Let me ask you this, Andy. Let's talk about something that'll put a smile on both of our faces. Do you know who the all-time single-season sack record holder for the Cleveland Browns is?
I'm guessing it's not Michael Dean Perry. So who was the
no, not Michael Dean
for the Browns? It's got to be Myles Garrett.
No, not yet. It's Reggie Camp in '84. Reggie Camp in '84 had 14 sacks. Jameer Miller in 2001 had 13. And Clay Matthews in '84 had 12. But Myles Garrett sitting right now, 12 and a half sacks. Myles Garrett is well on his way as a rookie to being the all-time Cleveland Browns single-season sack leader.
Yeah, I mean, you knew I was going to bring this up. I've not been hard on Garrett, but I've obviously been a little overcritical, and I think that's fair. He's number 1 pick overall.
Yeah.
I know some people on Twitter do not agree, but that's okay. I will say this, though. His last 2 games have been his best games I've seen him play. And I thought today he was great. I thought today he really stood out. there were times where that poor tackle for the Panthers just looked hopeless, trying to stop Garrett to the ball. He really had a hard time. Garrett made an impact on this game. And I've been wanting to see this more of Garrett, and I saw it in the Houston game, even in a loss. I certainly saw it again today. I think Garrett in the last 2 games has played wonderful, and it's great to see because the Browns need him with Denzel Ward out. So I thought that was great, and I'm glad to hear he's getting close to that record. It's well deserved. And the other thing too, it's not a negative. So I don't think he's playing terrible, but you pointed it out, so I'll give kudos to you during the game, and I started focusing in on it as soon as you mentioned it to me. Carey's getting picked on a lot in these games.
Yeah.
I don't think it's an eyesore yet. I really don't, but he's getting picked on. It's pretty clear that he's the one guy that teams are going after. And again, I don't see him playing terrible. I really don't. But he's definitely going to get picked on.
He just has to realize he's not going to get away with. He's not going to get away with what some of the other guys are getting away with. A little hand behind the back grabs, whatever. They don't look. There was one that did not look. It would look like a very weak call. Again, this is a trend that we're seeing, and if the trend continues, not only our offense is going to take advantage of that, but the refs are clearly keeping an eye on them. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I don't either. I thought 2 of them were pretty bad. One, his arm was extended and he was grabbing his wrist. My grandmother's going to throw that flag. I don't know what to say. It's just going to be called. Everybody's going to notice that. You got to call it. You just got to call it. The one thing I would just say to the Browns, you just got to be aware of it. But again, I don't think it's an issue. I just think that's the guy now who's definitely been circled out. And you were the one to point it out, so you're right. When we were texting back and forth, Carey's definitely the guy now who's. It's interesting on most throws the ball's going to him. The one thing that I saw in this game too, which I did not cost the Browns a game, thankfully, was the McCaffrey play. McCaffrey did a nice job in this game. I have no idea why the Panthers did not use him more in the second half. I thought they could have gone to him every play, and the Browns would have had a hard time with him. They just had no answers from McCaffrey today. They really didn't. But, again, had to go the ball. Norv Turner's not that kind of coach, as we all remember here. He has to go down the field, and that's what he did. And, again, that was the big difference I saw in this game, Jared. I hate to put some onus on the Panthers, but it's true. Cam had some guys open in the fourth quarter, and he couldn't hit them. And that was a big difference in this game.
He airmailed the interception at the end of the game to Randall. He airmailed that.
Terrible.
Had a wide open receiver coming across the field for a touchdown at the end of the game. The possession before, that was. I don't know what is his deal. Is this just Cam from now on?
I don't know. I know people have been pointing it out, and I think it's fair now. Now that I've seen it in person, I don't watch a lot of Panthers games. I don't know why. I'm not big on the Panthers when watching them play. But watching a whole game now, the one thing I come away with is McCaffrey's excellent. And Newton, by the way, can still run the ball well. And Newton can actually complete the ball inside 12 to 15 yards. Mm-hmm. But in tight boxes or if Newton has to go down the field, there was one pass today. That ball was behind the receiver. He almost had to wait for the ball. That was a play Carey made. But really, the reason why Carey made it is because the ball was thrown behind.
Yep.
Newton's going to have to really. They're going to have to make some decisions on him because I don't know how much longer you continue to play with a guy like that. And again, in the fourth quarter, I don't think there were. I thought the one in the end zone wasn't a terrible miss, but he did miss him. He was open. But again, Baker's making. It's great. Baker's making those throws for us.
It's night and day looking at Cam to Baker.
Yeah.
Baker in that pass to the pass to Landry, in that window. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe.
Great throw.
Oh, it's mind blowing. I don't know. I've been waiting a long. I've been waiting 19 years for this, Santy. My goodness.
Time. And I'll tell you, that throw at the end of the game for Newton, throw in the name Cody Kessler, Charlie Fry. What was that guy's name? That one guy escapes me. Weeden would make a lot of throws like that.
Got a Kaiser.
Yeah, I mean, all those kind of throws were just like, it's 10 yard, it's not even close. Like you just watch it come out in new sense. Like, it's not even close. And the game is over.
I love seeing him throw down the field. Every time he was letting it loose, I was happy for it. Thank God.
Yeah,
and you were right. You called it before this game started. You said that they wouldn't be able to help themselves, that they wouldn't stick with the McCaffrey thing.
They can't.
Because if they already dominated with the time of possession, they would have won that game had they stuck with McCaffrey and kept doing that. They would not have lost that game. Hey, whatever, though. I don't care.
Hey, whatever's right. And I'll tell you, I took a lot of notes on Norv Turner when he was here in Cleveland, and that's what drove me crazy about Norv Turner. There'd be things that you could see that were obviously working, and then he just wouldn't go to them at times.
Yeah.
And Norv Turner's aggressive. He has to go deep. He has to. It's just in his blood. And by the way, thank God you did. Because, again, I was stunned. Were you stunned about how many times McCaffrey didn't touch the ball in the third and fourth quarter at times?
Well, I don't understand. I don't know why. I know that the Browns talked about they had a guy, eyeing him on every play, whatever. There were times where...
Who was that person?
All Cam had to do was dump McCaffrey the ball. I mean...
Yeah.
I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know how we're watching that game and can see it, and coaches on the sidelines just don't like. It's right there for you. In the middle of the third quarter to about the last drive when they drove down the field, I don't remember McCaffrey touching the ball. I don't. It was amazing. By the way, great. Hey, keep him off. Too good. I mean, it was becoming one of those games again. It reminded me, here's the difference. The Saints kept going to Kamara, and I think that kind of helped them win the game. And the Panthers, for some reason, in that pocket during the game, did not go to him. But, hey, with that said, the Browns win. And, again, Baker Mayfield was really the star of the show. I mean, you can't sugarcoat it. He was. And then your supporting actors were Landry, even with the fumble, and Nick Chubb. Both were very good today. You have some other odds and ends. And, again, Perriman – you're going to have to sign that guy to a contract next year. Oh, yeah. I mean, and again, it's a change of scenery. It's a new chance at life, and he is taking full advantage of that. Yeah. I guess Baker looked at him and just basically said before he didn't know he was that play was coming, but he told him on the route, you better turn on the Jets, and that's all he said to him. And that was it. And so he did.
Hey.
And by the way, that's Rashad Perriman's longest touchdown catch of his career, 66 yards, or longest catch of his career, and it was yards, rather. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, it was great, a wonderful display. Two things else, and then I want to hit on special teams before we.
I wasn't going to let you finish because there's a strange stat in there for Greg Joseph. He hits 40-plus field goals and misses an extra point. Like, what is going on with that?
I wrote this text too, and I mean it. It's nothing against the everybody works on special teams, and Brian probably works very hard.
Yeah. And,
I think I'm sure Greg Joseph is a nice guy.
Yep.
And I'm not saying he may not be back this year.
So Zane Gonzalez.
Let me just say, But I'll tell you right now, the special teams on the Browns need to be blown up, brought in again, and blown up again just to make sure all the germs are gone. Because I've never seen a special teams like this where every special teams is mind-numbingly nervous.
Yeah.
Whether it's Peppers catching the ball and punts to whether it's what I saw today from
Greg Joseph had to force the first kickoff out of bounds. Had to force him out of bounds. He was the only one. There were like 5 missed tackles on that kickoff to start the game.
I know.
And it came down to Greg Joseph.
I know.
Like what?
I know.
Your kicker can't be making that tackle to start the game.
No, and you're right, he did. And you know what? You're right, he did. You're right. I remember that too. You're right. So look, I don't know. I'll tell you, I was trying to remember all my days. I'm like, I don't remember ever special teams being this nerve-wracking. Every time as special teams play, I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's just hold on.
Yeah.
Oh, we fair caught it. All right.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
I mean,
Peppers caught a punt up on his shoulder, it looked like, too. The one that made me nervous.
I know. Again, they're nice people. It just needs to be blown up and tried again. This is not working. All that said, Myles Garrett is the other guy I really want to put a shining star on. His last two games, especially in my book, were his best. I thought today he was outstanding again. He was causing havoc. And that's the thing that I've been wanting to see more of, and I'm seeing it now. I did not notice it as much this year. And by the way, no offsides penalties in these last two games.
Yeah.
Just saying.
No pre-snap.
Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Today would have also been
so I think
if they could have got through the game without allowing a sack today, would have been the first time since I believe '88 that they would have gone 4 games straight without allowing a sack. Unfortunately, it didn't go that way, but still, there's a lot to be proud of.
Oh no, I thought so too. Again, I was seeing a lot of Twitter comments that were hard on the Browns O-line, and again, I didn't think they played great. I did. This is the first game I'm like, they played okay, but I didn't think they played poorly. Like I'll point you to some games this year. I thought the Browns offensive line played poorly. This was not one of them. I did not think they played that bad. The other, so all that said, kudos to Greg Williams and Freddie Kitchens and the gang. They get another win. They keep their hopes alive, maybe being the coach and the offensive coordinator next year. Time will tell on that. I don't know how much you want to do on that today, Jared, but I will say I think they're fainting hopes. I still think that loss last week was hard. I think the bigger question now is, which we'll go into the league here in a second, the Browns have this weird hope of maybe winning the division that I kind of noticed too, and I saw. Well,
they might trip and fall into the playoffs. Just think about that.
Well, our good old buddies, the Raiders, helped out. For people who didn't notice, the Steelers lost today in a
3
terrible
straight.
And I'll tell you, they also had field goal problems. Their field goal kicker missed multiple kicks again today. By the way, we would love to pass that disease on to the Steelers. Not a better team for them to have. They have real kicking problems. They do. It's actually just about as dire as the Browns.
Yeah.
They had a kick block. They missed another field goal today. So, the Steelers now come into this last week, and the Raiders lost to the Chiefs. Chiefs had a great comeback win. Should have won in regulation, but they missed a field goal kick to win the game. But they came back and won anyways on a field goal kick, ironically. I just think, before we harp back on the Steelers, here's the reason why I'm not going to spend too much on the Ravens, because obviously the Ravens still have a far better record than the Browns. I think Lamar Jackson, you're starting to see, he's a good player. Love his running ability, but he got hit hard today against the Chiefs, and he's starting to get knocked around. I don't know how much longer that's going to last. He's a nice guy. It reminds me a lot of RG3, Jared, when RG3 had a wonderful rookie year for the Redskins, and then he had just absolutely hit it so hard against the Seahawks in that playoff game. And really, it's never been the same. Lamar Jackson, you're starting to see those hits.
Well, I mean,
you can only scramble for.
The Ravens, let's see, the Buccaneers are a weird team. They show up sometimes, they don't show up on other times. They showed up for half a game today and then disappeared. The Saints are just that good, so. But the Saints have even had their moments. So let's see what happens in that Buccaneers game next week. I don't know. I told you earlier, I really hope that the Browns give me a reason to want to go to that game at the end of the season at M&T. I really do.
Well, I think it's getting closer. I think the Ravens will split these next two, which means the Browns have an opportunity if they went out to have a better record than the Ravens. Yeah. So keep that in mind. That's why I'm going to move forward. I know their second game in between the Browns and Bucs is a tough game. I think it's a road game. I want to say it's the Chargers.
It is the Chargers.
Look that up. Yeah, so I think that's a tough game for the Ravens. So I think they'll split these next two. Pittsburgh, they really missed the opportunity. Their next two games are the Patriots, who are coming off a bizarre loss to the Dolphins, and then in New Orleans, which that game could be for home field advantage for New Orleans in 2 weeks. That's it. the Steelers are really up against it all of a sudden. And then they end the year against the Bengals. But, I've been doing the math, and Jared and I were doing this before I came on. Now, look, the Browns have to win in Denver, and we'll close on that. And that's not easy. But if the Browns can win these next two, and even with the Steelers beating the Bengals in the last week and the Browns went out, the Browns would have the tiebreaker advantage over the Steelers to win the division.
Say that again.
It's there for their taking. They would have the tiebreakers over the Ravens to win the division. Even if the Steelers, let's say the Steelers do lose these last two games and they beat the Bengals in the last game, which I think you got to figure they would at home. The Browns would win the tiebreakers and win the division.
Well, there's a very real chance that could happen. What?
It's in play.
Are the Steelers? Is there bad blood internally finally coming to roost for them? Is that, or is it the injuries that are hurting? A combination, because that team has been. You sense them on the downward trend even before the season started this year, and they somehow have been able to overcome that and stay in first place in the division for most of the season. So. It seems like now, when the going's getting even tougher here, they're not able to keep it together and take the wins that they should. There's no reason they should ever have lost to the Raiders.
Yeah, Roethlisberger had to come out in this game at a certain point. I think he came back in late to make that throw. I think it's a combination of things. I actually think, though, is we've experienced it's laughable, but when your field goal kicker misses field goal kicks, it can really, as we experienced in the Saints game, it can really affect you. And the Steelers have that problem right now. And on top of it, they're not getting enough from other people that they're used to getting it from. Le'Veon Bell not being there, I think, is finally caught up with them. I do agree with you. And again, I think this team is getting older. And it's not as easy anymore. And I'll tell you, could you imagine if you beat the Raiders, all these things I wouldn't have talked about, because the Steelers would be able to control too many things to win. But can you imagine if they lose to the Patriots and at New Orleans, which, by the way, is not crazy? Not crazy. Can you imagine?
No.
I mean, it's there. It's in play.
Well,
but I want to flip the script to our guys.
Yeah.
That Saturday night game, Jared, is going to be very, very hard.
I don't have a good feeling.
I think that's going to take a lot for the Browns. I want to sit on it this week. I'm in your camp right now. I think that Saturday night game, it will be interesting how I feel as the week goes on. But I'm telling you, that is going to be a tough game. The Browns, for as long as I've been a fan, they never win in Denver. Never win in Denver. Never.
I hate Denver.
That would be such. I hate them so much too. I'll tell you, this
ruined
game's
my
got
childhood.
a lot of juice to it already. Because, yes, we won't go down that path tonight. But I'll tell you this: that game, I think, is the game that they need to win to prove themselves to be playoff ready, anyways. So that's another thing to it. But I think that game is going to be tough. But boy, if the Browns could ever do it, and they can, I will say, it's winnable. It's not impossible. It's winnable. It's just going to take every bit of effort. I get the feeling, Jared, that game, I will say this, I think that game comes right down the wire. Right down the final second. Don't you think? I don't think it'll be a blowout one way or the other.
No. It's going to Craig
Joseph coming out.
They can't. They can't. No, stop. Listen, as long as it's 40-plus yards. If it's 40-plus yards, he's good. I'm not worried about it. Anything closer, then there's an issue. So I don't know. I know that we're gonna do a preview show, later on in the week. But if I have to think about this, what I think it's going to come down to is how they come out. If they come out tight and looking like they did. Did they look tight? Was it the Titans or the Texans game that they looked? They looked like they were off.
Everything was off. I thought it had three characteristics. Houston was really that good and really on fire. By the way, they lost today. Finally.
No.
I thought the Hugh Jackson PR push was really. It didn't cost them a game, but it definitely threw them off. And then 3, I thought you kind of hit on it. That was the first game they did look tight. Hopefully that will get them more ready for the Denver game.
Well, I think that they'll be able to play loose.
Not as good as the Texans.
If you can't stay loose and ready for a primetime game on a Saturday night, in front of a national audience, I think again, I think that this comes down to Baker. And I think that this is a time where he wants to shine. So as much as I don't know, that makes me feel a little bit better when you think about it. When all the lights are on, he wants.
No, I think it's a big game. It's a big game, but I would have felt this way anyways. But with what happened today in the Steelers-Raiders game, it's not crazy now to think the Browns can do this, only because the Steelers have to. And I'll repeat this too, though. I will not have a good vibe if the Steelers beat the Patriots on Sunday. The Steelers need to lose these next 2 games.
Well, they are possibly going to have James Conner back, so for Week 15. So that's kind of a bummer. But the Patriots are coming off a loss today that was shocking. They call it already. It's already called the Miracle in Miami. A game that they shouldn't even have lost. No, they shouldn't have. But I'll tell you, it'll be interesting to see. But again, I think the Steelers will beat them. I'm going to be just proactive. They'll beat the Bengals in the last week. They have to. So they got to lose these next 2. I think they got to lose these next 2. But I think that's very possible. Because I think the Saints, I guess you can kind of guess my vibe. I think next week's game is a big, 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 big game if you're a Steelers fan. I think it's your season. Because if you lose that game, there's a lot of Steelers fans on social media already losing their minds, thinking that it's over now. They've already jumped ship. I'm seeing it. Fans. I know. I hear you. I wouldn't jump ship yet. No, but I'd get the lifeboat ready because I know what they're thinking. I'd get the lifeboat ready. No, because you know what? We can always end up having another crazy 350-yard passing, miracle touchdown, game-winning drive from Ben Roethlisberger. Like we've seen it. We know.
Oh, well, right. Well, you have to think the Steelers have to get up for this. It's a 4:25 game. Pats Steelers, CBS, big game. It's a juicy game of next week, in my opinion.
Yep.
The Steelers will be up for that game. But the Patriots will too, as they just lost. And the Patriots need that game.
And I think that they'll love to rub their nose in it if they can. Kind of in the same fashion that they did with the Chiefs this year. Oh, the Chiefs are the team this year? Yeah, we got that. That's the Patriots. That's the Belichick way.
I know. Again, it's a big. We should pause there, as we'll do more of that on Friday. Again, a great win for the Browns. So proud of Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, Myles Garrett, all the boys. Those guys really come to mind. They really stood out today. And in Landry, even with the fumble, Landry had a wonderful day. And I give Freddie Kitchens a lot of credit. I think he did a nice job calling the offense. The defense did just enough to win the game. And that's sometimes what it takes. And that's what happened here today.
Another stat from Baker Mayfield. He 8 different receivers, and I think he's done that almost in every game that he started. He spreads the ball around like no other.
Yeah.
Spreads the ball around like no other.
No, he's great at that.
When Orson Charles caught the ball, I was like, what? How did Baker even? Where's Orson Charles? What? Okay. Okay. Like he finds a way to get the ball. And we also, this is another thing where we're talking about Jarvis. We've been waiting for Jarvis and for Baker to kind of get their rhythm, and they're starting to, especially on those rollouts. Especially when Baker's rolling out, you usually see Jarvis hitting towards the sideline to for a 15, 20-yard catch downfield. So I think that they're starting to click, obviously.
Oh, the Landry they're starting to really hum. Let's go quickly around the league.
Yeah.
And I just want to hit on. Actually, we'll probably hit on most of these games here real quick. So this was a great lineup, actually, as it turned out to be. I'll start with this game. It sounds like a clunker, but I thought it was interesting. Sam Darnold, who we don't think about here in Cleveland because Baker's really taken over. Darnold had his first great game. I thought it was a Jet. He came back with a fourth quarter comeback to beat the Bills. That was a great win for Sam Darnold and the Jets. You don't want to harp too much on that. So both teams are 4-9, but I thought that was a nice little touch if you're a Jets fan out there. Rodgers, of course, they reemerged in that game. Jared, real quick, we're not Falcons fans by any means. They needed that. They stopped the bleeding. Boy, there's a talk about panic in Pittsburgh. There's a freak out going on social media with the Packers.
No.
With that said, if you're a Falcons fan, I know I'd feel this way. Are we ready to fire Dan Quinn? Because I would be.
I think you have to. I think you have to
too.
Because this is an underperforming team, and it's not going to get any better. So, no.
Julio jumps to 106 and 2 touchdowns, and he loses the game. Boy, Falcons are in trouble. That is going to be a big, interesting offseason because again, they can't. It's not a quick fix. They really can't rebuild. It's just Falcons are a mess. They're going to have to really think about what they're going to do with the head coach. Yeah. Ravens, as we discussed, they had a lead. They had a lead late. Mahomes made a fan. Watch the highlights, man. Mahomes made a sick pass to Hill and then followed it up with another sick touchdown pass. Okay, Baker's really good. Mahomes is really good too. He is just nasty good. The Chiefs had a chance to win in regulation, but as we mentioned, they had a field goal kick go awry. The bigger thing I took out of this game from a Browns perspective is the Chiefs hung on in overtime. I think the Lamar Jackson thing is already starting to get a little worried. He really got beat up. He did not finish the game in overtime. No. Don't know how much longer the Ravens can press on with. I know Flacco. It's very weird. It sounds like Flacco was healthy? ? But RG3 came in the game late. By the way, RG3 threw a game. I'm not exaggerating. Threw a great pass that was not caught. Looked like it was pass interference in the game. I give kudos to RG3. Came off cold off the bench and make a great throw to end the game. Just didn't get caught, and then the penalty wasn't called. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what the Ravens do here because there's definitely a growing momentum for Lamar Jackson. But if you watch that game and you know in your heart of hearts, do you really think Lamar Jackson can keep doing this? I don't know. I say no.
No, because you know what happens in this league. You can't play that style of football and not end up losing your head at some point. It's gonna happen.
I think the Ravens have an interesting road. That is hard because you're not just doing it for the last 3 games, but you're really making decisions for next year. It's tricky. The Ravens are in really a tight wedge there. Yeah. We kind of mentioned it. The Dolphins won on a miracle play. 2 laterals, and then I don't know if the Patriots just lost their brain on that final play, but they had a chance to tackle him on the open field, and then once he got to Gronk, it was great.
Well, Gronk was out there. Gronk's out there to bat the ball down, right? But Gronk, it's not even like anyone put a move on Gronk. Gronk just fell. No. It looked ridiculous, and Gronk had a good day too, except for that last final play.
No, he didn't. He did. You know what? I'll tell you, that was the Patriots have lost ways before, and they've had bad losses. Obviously, the 2 Super Bowls come to mind. There's other bad losses they've had. They lost one year to the Broncos in the playoffs. That wasn't good. I'll tell you what, though, this was the worst one I've seen under Brady and Belichick.
Well,
I can remember.
Is it me or am I wrong? They've struggled in Miami for a while now, haven't they? Hasn't Miami made a game out of this? Yeah.
Yes, they won. This is 5 out of the last 6 years they've won in Miami. The Dolphins have. It's Pats, but
makes no sense.
That was none. So the Pats, again, they come into that game, the Steelers needing some wins to get at least a home game in the playoffs. Right now, by the way, it is really teed up nicely for the Chiefs to have home field throughout. We'll see if they can complete it. The Chiefs definitely look like a different team without Hunt in the backfield. By the way, it shows. It'll be interesting to see if the Chiefs can continue to win it.
Yeah.
Saints came back and won. They covered for me. Thank you, Saints, on some sort of level. The Buccaneers are the Buccaneers. They're going through, I think, a transition phase. I agree with what Jared says. Their defense has been better, but they're a hard team to read. The Buccaneers play the Ravens next week. I would have no vibe for that game, knowing what's going on with Lamar Jackson.
No idea.
The Saints are in the same position. Yeah, exactly. If the Rams continue to lose to the Bears, the Saints are in kind of the same position as the Chiefs. The Saints are kind of in driver's seat for home field. So we'll see what happens there. The Redskins season's over after the broken leg of Alex Smith, and it's a shame and sad. I'm not a Redskin fan, but you hate to see that for a team. And they really had the epic collapse today with Mark Sanchez as quarterback, 40-16. The Giants just romped them. A lot of rumors going around social media about Colin Kaepernick, so the Redskins have a lot going on there. That's not going to be a fun way to end the year.
Word from Colin is that nobody's reached out to him this entire season. That's the word from Colin Kaepernick, I believe. Not one team, so I don't know. I don't know if it's going to happen or not.
Well, the Redskins, I think you're at that point. I would give them a call. I would give them a call. You can't go with this Mark Sanchez thing much longer. It's going to get embarrassed. You got embarrassed today by the Giants. Can't do it. You got to make a phone call. They got to make a phone call.
You know what, though? I don't know that Colin wants to play. And maybe he doesn't want to play for a team called the Redskins either, for obvious reasons, too. You know? That could play into it.
I won't go down those roads as I don't know. But I will say the Redskins, knowing that Colt McCoy's out, knowing that Alex Smith's out, you should give Colin Kaepernick a call.
Yep.
You need a quarterback, man. This Mark Sanchez thing, that was the biggest eye-opening score in the first half. I'm like, it is 34-0. Like, Jesus. I don't think Mark Sanchez is working out. Okay, well, that's their problem, not ours. Redskins are on their way out. Giants are just picking up victories here to play for next year. Colts with a great bounce-back win. I had my eye on this game, but obviously I was paying attention to us. The Colts really playing well after a bounce-back loss to the Jags. Texans finally had to cool off at some point, and the Colts have always had the Texans number, and that continues. Even earlier this year, they lost in overtime to the Colts. The Texans beat the Colts in overtime, but Colts have always had their number, and they did here again today. The Chargers gutted out a win. They were down late. They came back and won. I'll give this. I can't stand watching the Bengals. I don't watch them play. But I've got to figure Jarid, that quarterback who's playing, is doing a decent job. They've been in these games. They're not winning them, but they've been competitive.
Well, and I know what you talked about. There's no reason why the Steelers shouldn't beat the Bengals at the end of the season, but divisional game, chip on your shoulder. Bengals, could play the spoiler. I think that game is up in the air at this point.
Not crazy to say that. We kind of touched on the 49ers. We play the Broncos next week, so we'll save that for Friday. Cowboys was another crazy ending. Back and forth. And then it was a fun game to watch. And at the very end, in fact, I was watching Purdue basketball. My boys were like, change it back to the Cowboy game. But I want to see what's going on in Purdue. But we ended up watching more of the Cowboys game at times. But anyways, the Cowboys with an interesting victory as Amari Cooper. Boy, I'll tell you what. He did not play this well for the Raiders, so I'm not the only ones. I've seen other people write this. But I'll tell you what, this is the Amari Cooper who played the first year and a half in Oakland. 217 and 3 touchdowns. My God.
And that game-winning touchdown for him to stay on that ball was ridiculous. Yeah,
Yeah.
Are you wishing we had him now?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. With that said, actually, I'll be honest, Perriman's been nice. Perriman's been a nice pickup, but yeah, Amari Cooper, his career is resurrected. And you know what? And kudos to the Cowboys. It's not easy giving a number one pick for a wide receiver who's been debating about his effort level. So, again, kudos to the Cowboys, and they are for real.
Zeke looked great today, too.
Wavelength. He had some tough runs. He got hit hard in this game.
Yeah.
Eagles really were playing hard in this game. I don't want to go down this tangent yet, but I thought Carson Wentz looked better as the game went on. He had a nice fourth quarter drive. I'm interested to see how his year ends out and see how he plays next year. I want to hold judgment, but I thought he's had an interesting – he had a devastating injury too. But anyways, you get where I'm going. I want to see how Wentz plays next year.
Yeah.
That's my comment. I'm interested to see how that plays out because I don't think the Eagles are going to make the playoffs at this point. We touched upon the Raiders game. Again, field goal kicking to injuries. The Steelers had a Browns type of loss that we had earlier in the year with Hugh Jackson. That's what I saw in this game. The Steelers had a really bad loss. They are now going to have to win in one of these next two, in my opinion. I think I really do. Forgetting the Browns, I think they have to win one of these next two, and they play against New England at New Orleans.
I want to be on that. I want to be on that plane ride home with them. I would love to be on that plane ride home with them.
Do you think Boswell's on there? The field goal kickers? I don't. I mean, that was that was a devastating loss. And for whatever reason in life, you always get certain vibes and whatever. And I'll end on this note for the NFL. The Rams just don't do well in cold weather, and they're in Chicago tonight, and they're down 15-6.
Yep.
I am not surprised about the score. I just had a feeling about this game, like, oh, Chicago in December for the Rams, not good. Not good.
Yeah. I mean, the Bears have put together a good season, so I'm not surprised either. I don't see this changing. You're already at the end of the third quarter. I think that the Bears are going to hold on to this one.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. So we kind of touched upon the Browns. Interesting enough, never thought this would come up tonight. We talked playoffs even maybe. So we'll do that more on Friday and leave it for that.
Cleveland Indians.
Changing quickly over to the Indians. There's a great article I kind of sent to you that I would suggest people to read. Buster Olney wrote a wonderful article, and for one reason or the other, he really focused on the Indians and a lot of his topics. So here's a couple of things that kind of came up here and there that I want to credit Buster Olney for in this article. So the trade rumors, I checked everything. Jared, I'm sure you did too. I did not see anything for Bauer or Kluber that had more traction other than just real rumors.
No, that's it.
I didn't see anything. That's all I saw. But the one thing that is starting to come out that I started hearing too on Saturday night that you and I touched upon on Saturday morning, it's starting to become more and more that teams are expecting that Bauer is going to be the one traded and not Kluber. And that's starting to become more. That's starting to gain more and more steam here as we get into Vegas.
And what are we thinking with that? That the Indians know what they're going to have out of Kluber more so than what they would get out of Bauer this coming season?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And the temptation lies Bauer's younger and he keeps progressing. It's tempting. And that is tempting in any kind of athlete.
It's still more of a gamble. I like the idea of not gambling because it would make me feel better about some of the moves they've already made. That they still have their eye on the prize. That's what I'm taking away from that conversation.
No, agreed. And Bauer's, and again, people will see it both ways too, depending on the organization you are with. But Bauer is definitely getting more traction now to be traded rather than Kluber, which I think we both agree. I think that's better. And it's really, forget the Bauer personality thing, which we can get into all the time. And, he's definitely feisty and all that.
That's more a me
stuff.
thing anyways. That's me complaining about him. That's all that is.
I mean, he is. And you always need an A.J. Brzezinski, a Brian Cardinal, these guys in life. I like guys. You need one of those guys in your team. They can drive you crazy too.
Yeah.
And Bauer certainly does both those things, no matter what aisle he's sitting on, his temperament or his drones or his analytics or whatever. But, Kluber really is a more proven commodity. Hell, the guy's won 2 Cy Youngs. I mean, come on. So it's nothing against Bauer. It's just Kluber's more proven. But, when you really read into the article, I thought he made a great point. People got to remember, too, you have Shane Bieber, Clevenger, Carrasco, which we'll get to in a second, and either Bauer or Kluber, knowing you have Salazar, knowing you have Cody Anderson, knowing you have other guys. Cody Anderson hasn't pitched in a year and a half, but his Tommy John surgery rehab's now complete, so he's going to be a game again. You just have guys back there who can go as that's your 5th, by the way. I just think the Indians are thinking right here. I think the time is right to trade one of these 2 guys. You need to get a bat in there. I think the time's right. I do. I think the time's right. It's risky.
You've got to agree with them on this because, a bat is definitely needed. And I don't know. What are you doing though? Are you packaging? Are we still packaging Kipnis in on this, or are we hoping that Kipnis has a little turnaround on the field at the plate rather, or both?
I think what they need to be careful is don't be greedy. And what I mean by that is don't compensate a trade for someone to take on Kipnis. Get the best for your deal for your pitcher. Okay? And if you have to eat some contract, eat some contract.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. And I hate to talk business, but I'm being truthful. You cannot downgrade a trade for even Trevor Bauer if you're adding Kipnis and that trades you one less good prospect. Don't do it. Can't do it. Can't. If you're doing that and you're doing some sort of fancy 3-way or you're evening out the prospects, whatever, but you can't take a hit on the trade because you're having someone take a hit on the contract.
No, I agree.
Right?
It can't be a gamble. It's got to be a sure thing, I think.
Yeah, and to what you said, anything in the 7, 8, or 9 would be great for a bat. Anything. Left, center, right, to me, no difference. Just get someone who can hit, who can play one of those positions.
Yep.
The other thing, too, that I thought came out that you and I kind of touched upon, but Buster really hammered it in this article. The Carrasco play here, I guess what I learned when reading this article is Carrasco not only has shown a want to be in Cleveland, he reached out to the Indians personally when he heard about these trade rumors.
Proactive.
Saying, hey, can I? Yeah. I for everybody out there, I was always been a Carrasco fan. I am now a huge fan after this article because Carrasco's all in on Cleveland. Wonderful to see. Cookie's now signed through 2023. The last year's a club option, by the way, which is, boy, who does that as a free agent pitcher with leverage? So Carrasco is so all in on the Indians, and all what that signals is he is going to be here. He will not be traded.
Wow.
So if you read any articles out there that mentions Carrasco, they are false. He's not going anywhere. No,
I hope it's contagious in the clubhouse.
I do too.
I want that family feeling again that we had 2 years ago. You know, I felt like it was missing a little bit last year, and Carrasco is going to play a big part into that. Frankie Lindor is going to have to take a bigger leadership role this coming year too.
Well, you're right, and I'll tell you, Carrasco really set the tone with this. That says a lot about a guy when you do something like that. So Carrasco, kudos, and even Antonetti made a comment saying he understands and appreciates what he did there.
Mm-hmm.
So again, for Carrasco to read these articles, have his agents reach out to the Indians out of nowhere and saying, hey, can we talk about a contract extension? So I don't want to be traded. I mean, if you don't think Carlos Carrasco's here for the long run, you are drinking the wrong juice, man. Because this kid's all in. So I thought that was a really nice article. Again, Buster only. I would read it. I think it's a great read. It'll make you feel better about what's going on next year for the Tribe. Also, the other thing you kind of read in between the lines there, obviously the Indians are very feeling good about taking hits in their starting pitching and still thinking they can win the division. So obviously the Indians are I think that kind of passed quietly, but I thought it was a big deal. Larry Doby's going to be honored by the U.S. Senate. The American League's first black players, we all know, is getting the Congressional Gold Medal. That was very cool.
I love that.
Very cool thing they're doing that for Larry. I do too. So Doby's getting a lot more press, which is cool. I meant to touch upon this on Saturday, and I got lost. Luis Valbuena in that car accident.
I apologize. Hey, Andy.
Really
I want to give this part some justice, and you cut out a little bit, so I want to make sure that everyone hears. I didn't want of all times to cut out. I didn't really want it to cut out over this portion of the show. So go ahead again.
No. Yeah, no worries. So Luis Valbuena, who kind of came in with the Indians at a time when they were still they were in the wedge years. And Luis did not hit the ball very well, but I remember him playing. I don't know if you remember him, Jared, but I remember Valbuena coming up. And
briefly.
It's really come out now that, he really got – it was terrible what happened here in Venezuela. He and Jose Castillo were both killed in a car crash. And basically what's been found out is bandits, they're basically calling, which is a proper term, threw things on the highway to have them stop. That's what forced the crash and Caracas. And then they robbed them while they were laying there dead or dying. So just so sad to hear. And again, I follow the Indians religiously, and I just remember Luis Valbuena coming up for the Indians. And again, he didn't stay here for very long, but he was his first real team to come up with was the Tribe. It just didn't work out, so he couldn't really hit the ball a lot. But he always played nice, always had a smile on his face, and I just thought that was a sad story. Felt bad for Luis Valbuena.
Oh, it's awful, and we've had these tragedies happen with former players and players that were on the team, over the past 30 years, and it's never and this is no easy.
I hate to hear that
terrible
stuff. No, it is, and it is. Like I said, I just remember Luis. He had a great smile on his face, and you hate to hear things like that, obviously. So, all condolences go out to Luis Valbuena and Castillo's family, and hopefully, just terrible to hear that stuff still goes on. But scary stuff there. And then finally, on another note, Mike Napoli officially announced his retirement on Saturday.
Yep.
So he's now, which we kind of knew, but now it's official that he stepped down. He wrote a nice note to the fans on there. And, for how much Mike only played one season, I never saw an Indian make a louder thump than Mike Napoli with his T-shirts and his
Party at Napoli's. That was the first thing I told my wife the other day when he retired. Because she's not an Indians fan, and she still remembers that. How funny is that?
Yes. Yes, there is a lot of ladies who remember Mike Napoli.
Not for that reason.
No, not for that reason.
Damn it, maybe.
Let's just say
what am I missing here? Son of a... No wonder she remembered.
All I've been told from people who know, and I was never invited, but boy, I would love to have been invited a couple times. Napoli was known to throw great parties, and let's just say that he had a fun time up there with who knows what was going on. But Mike seems like a very good guy.
I've seen some of the girls that he's dated over the years. Yeah, he's party at Napoli's, brother. I'll just leave it at that.
Party at Napoli's. Yeah, it was not a phrase. It was for what I've been told. These are all rumors.
It was a lifestyle.
Nothing. Definitely a lifestyle, and I love that. I think that stuff's cool. I think that stuff really makes life fun. So, kudos to Napoli. Glad to hear he is retiring in a nice way. And again, he was a nice ball player. You know what? Until that September, he was such a fantastic player for the Indians in 16. Really just ran out of gas. Felt terrible for the guy. Just did not have any power left. He went to Texas next year, then retired this year. So kudos to Mike Napoli. And I've been told this, though, too. He's such a nice guy. So hopefully he has a nice retirement. And he wrote a really nice letter to the fans. People should go check that out. So more on the Indians, I think, this week. I think the note here to leave, Jared, is I would be – I actually can say this. I would be surprised by the end of Thursday, which is when the meetings wrap up, that one of those two will not be traded. I think the Indians are going to make a trade by Thursday. I do.
Okay.
I do.
I'm looking forward to it. I know how I hope it goes.
Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yep. We'll have to see. The Cavs, not a lot here to harp on, but there's a few quick thoughts. So I did watch the game on Saturday night. Sexton almost had 30 points. This jump shot's really improved as the year goes on. So kudos to him on that. It's not the smoothest looking jump shot, but it goes in. That's all that matters. He scored almost 30 on the Saturday night win against the Wizards. Tristan keeps playing really well. He might be an all-star. 20 and 20 almost on Saturday night. He was one rebound away from 20 rebounds. I'll tell you, Jared, Tristan Thompson, I don't want to go too far down this road tonight because I want to see another week or two.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point where I wouldn't be surprised if NBA teams are calling the Cavs about Tristan.
What do you do about that, though? I know.
I think it's going to be really
I mean, because in the back of my mind, I worry that the whole reason that he's playing this well is for that purpose. Last year was not a good look. I mean, it just was not a good he did not have a good season. It was not a solid year for him.
No, it was obvious. And there's a lot of things going on that were rumored about what's going on with his personal life. And, who knows what was going on. Yeah, I would say this year, though, I've noticed. No, he couldn't. But I would say this year, though, I've not noticed any of that. It's been really quiet on that front. But I'll tell you, let's give it another week or two, Jared. I think I just know how sports works. If he keeps putting up these kind of numbers, people are going to start calling.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. And I'll be honest with you, as of tonight, I don't think you can trade him. I think you need him.
Yeah, I mean,
and I'll tell you, I'm a big. We'll do this on a better night. I'm a staunch believer in not tanking all the way tanking, and what I mean by that is I've just observed the Bulls ever since it was what's going on with Jordan and when that whole team broke up, and I just from the Nets to the Knicks, all these teams who do this stuff. It's never quite a guarantee.
No, and you know what else, Andy?
Some sort of.
When you do that, are you not killing the culture and the heart of what the team is, too? And that's a hard thing to build and find. So if you can grind it out together through these changes, I think you're going to come out a stronger team with a little more cohesion than you're going to get if you completely blow it up. Because everyone disappears at that point. Everyone. You know, when you can tell it's a complete tank job, everyone disappears, and then you're left with nothing, and you have no foundation left. And at least the foundation they continue is to grind it out together and to continue to play, even if it's not at the level that they want. I think that they have to do it that way.
I agree. I'll tell you, I'll even double down. I think Tristan Thompson's become kind of the leader of this team. So, he has. I'm telling you.
Things I would have said that you were crazy for a year ago.
I just telling you what I observed.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you. I think it's gonna be it'll be a interesting dilemma if he keeps playing like this, because they're going to start calling soon.
Yeah.
The other two things, I thought the Cavs won on Saturday night. I don't want to harp on too much of these game-to-game in the NBA. I thought that was one of their best wins. The Cavs were short-handed. They had no reason to win that game, and they won easily. It was their best win of the year, I thought. Cavs did a great job. And then in my other last thought, again, I want to give it some more time, I'm starting to see a little cohesion on the Cavs. I felt that after Saturday night. I'm starting to see some little things pop in and out with the Cavs. It doesn't mean they're going to win 20 games plus, but I'm just saying I'm starting to see some things develop. I did not feel this way, Jared, the year after LeBron left the first time. I'm seeing it this year with this team. It's a positive sign.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. They're part of that has to do with the fact, like we said, Tristan Thompson. There's pieces there that didn't exist the last time LeBron left. The last time LeBron left, there was nothing there for him, and that's why he left. This time around, there's this is a team coming off of an NBA championship not but 2 years ago. So there's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just saying there's more here in the shrapnel than I think what we thought 4 weeks ago. I'm looking through it. I'm like, hey, Sexton. I knew he was going to be good. I like him. I see some of these younger free agent guys they picked up off the market. We'll see who plays well. But, last night was Jones. Could be different guys each night. Okay, fine. Eddie Osman, when he limits his minutes, I'm seeing his role now. I'm starting to figure that out.
They didn't limit his minutes. They didn't limit his minutes in that game.
They can right now. By the way, they can. Yeah. They can. The Cavs have no choice. I meant that statement. The Cavs are so shorthanded. Yeah. It's not even funny. They are really short right now when it comes to rotation guys. So, again, they're finding little things. Again, nothing more than that. They still have I think they are tied with some other teams for 6 wins in the league, which is the worst. So, long ways to go. But I'm seeing little positives, is my point. For the first time, I felt that after Wizards game. Like, I'm seeing some things here that'll be interesting. Be interesting. That's it. Nothing more. And by the way, they play the Bucks on Monday, and I think that's going to be a terrible matchup. I think that back to reality kind of thing. But anyways, a good win on Saturday night for what that's worth.
Yeah, there's no way they're beating the Bucks. That's not happening.
Yeah, no. If they do, holy cow, we're all going to Vegas and betting the Browns to beat the Broncos. Okay, to wrap up a few things here, I kind of did a hodgepodge of topics. After talking with Hersh Walker, I did not realize how much the voters were feeling this was a close matchup, and I would have voted Tua, but, Kyler Murray won for Oklahoma. Back-to-back Oklahoma quarterbacks winning the Heisman Trophy. I don't want to go too much on a rant on this, as I thought Kyler Murray was a very important part. He had a great year. This was one of the closest Heisman votes ever, Jared. Mm-hmm. So that tells you how the room was split. So it wasn't like I'm crazy either. It was very close. In fact, it was so stretched. You felt bad for Haskins. Haskins was a distant third when it came to voting, and that's not Haskins' fault. It's an honor to be going to those things. But so Kyler Murray wins. I would have given it to Tua. I get why Kyler Murray win, because he was the face. He was the reason to drive. We're not crazy. We saw what happened in the SEC championship game. We know Hurts can come in and do the same thing, but I'll let you tee it up from there. So I know you were on Kyler Murray there towards the end, but
I wasn't surprised for it. I wasn't surprised. I had a feeling it was going to be Kyler Murray. If you're just looking at the paper, if you're looking on paper, Kyler Murray.
Well, you're right.
Kyler Murray, if you're just going by paper, Dwayne Haskins should have had more votes than that. But I never thought that Dwayne had a chance. There's a there are a lot of blind Buckeye fans that think it's ridiculous that he didn't win it. I cannot be a part of that camp.
Look, Haskins' last 3 games were wonderful, but Haskins had some struggles.
He's got growing to do. He is not polished. He is not there.
Yes. And by the way, I'll tell you what, he had his flattest moment against Nebraska, and that kid bounced up and played gutty the rest of the year.
Yeah.
Gutty after that Nebraska game. Yeah. I mean, that game, I was really getting to the point, I'm like, I am actually starting to sway here. Because I saw in Haskins, I thought it was the Penn State game, the Maryland, Michigan, and the Northwestern wins will always stick out to me. But does that mean you should win the Heisman? I've seen all these guys play. I'm telling you, Kyler Murray, Tua, they were just a level better than Haskins. That's not a slight. It's just being honest.
Well, what I want to figure out is, like I said, I'm not surprised about Kyler Murray winning. You're talking about somebody. There's a lot of hype behind a kid who's a 2-sport athlete as well. There's that flashiness that goes with it. Tua didn't have the greatest game in the world, the last 2 games of the season. I think that probably hurt him as well. So it does not surprise me that this is how it went down. I thought that I thought that the early voting gave Tua a better chance at winning it. But it turns out that it didn't work out that way. And what my bigger question as a Buckeyes fan is, what does Dwayne Haskins do? What is his decision?
I think
he needs another
year. Tell someone what to do. I do too. I'll just leave it at that. I would go back.
Yeah.
But I understand the money, and I want to understand starting your professional career.
Yep.
And I'm not in those shoes.
Yep.
With that said, I'd come back to college.
Yep. I don't know.
Also, we'll see.
And Kyler might not even play football. He might end up playing baseball only. Who knows?
You know what's so funny? It's already coming leaking out that he might play.
Yeah.
You know why? Because now he's starting to get hyped as maybe this is the second coming of Baker Mayfield. Who does Baker Mayfield play for? We already know. So it's great that the Browns actually have the quarterback where people are saying maybe he's the next Baker. Think about that. It's a great time to be a Browns fan. Even for tonight, it's a great time to be a Browns fan.
Yep.
So Kyler Murray wins. This was kind of a quiet story, but I wanted to bring it up because there's a lot of Indians on it. There's this Baseball Hall of Fame committee that selects players too, along with the writers. They selected Harold Bainsley Smith. That's not the news story here. What I found to be interesting is that Albert Bell, Hershiser, Charlie Emanuel, and Joe Carter, all Indians at one point, were on that list, and none of them made it. Is anything shocking? I mean, Lee Smith is a good player. I don't know about Hall of Famer. I always thought Harold Baines was a Hall of Famer, so I'm not surprised there. Is there any names in there you would rotate out that was former Indians that put in for Lee Smith and Baines?
Oh boy, I would look hard on Hershiser and Carter. Bell's never gonna get the benefit of the doubt on any of these because of his off the field incidents. He's just gonna be that way for him.
Yeah, I agree. Steinbrenner also is on this list, by the way, George Steinbrenner. I'm kind of with you. Hershiser's got a wonderful record with the Dodgers that really does not get shined enough. He had a very long career, and Joe Carter had I think it's a Blue Jays thing, but Joe Carter's home run is still one of the more memorable moments I remember in the World Series.
Yep.
And he was a wonderful Indian too. So I'm with you on those two. Bell's numbers are outstanding. You hit it perfectly in the head. There's nothing to add. I really like Charlie Emanuel a lot. I just don't know if he's on that list, to be honest with you. But I'm glad. Charlie's such a nice guy. I'm glad to see him get mentioned now.
Yes, he is.
So anyway, they're very, very nice man. So anyways, that's the latest on that. Jim Harbaugh says, hell no, I'm not going to the NFL. I thought that was awkward. So I didn't think he was being rumored. But okay.
I shared it today, and I said, good. Good. Stay in Michigan, please.
I thought the other interesting thing is the timing of this when it was the week of Urban Meyer leaving Ohio State. Just saying. I thought that was interesting timing.
Yeah.
That Harbaugh. I don't think it's a coincidence. I'll just leave it at that. So Harbaugh's not going to the NFL, staying in Michigan. And then a couple other quick ins and outs of sports. Gonzaga did lose to Tennessee. Didn't watch a second of it because I was watching the Browns game, and then I was following up with other things to do. If you want a player out there to watch who's really good, who's not on the radar of the Big Ten, Admiral Schofield, I saw him play in person last year for the Volunteers. I think he's one of those guys who might go in the second round of the NBA draft, but I think he's very good.
Really?
Admiral Schofield, watch him. Okay. Fun player to watch, big dude, plays hard. He sticks out in these games. He's going to be one of those names you're going to start hearing a lot of. I don't know where he goes in the draft board. I don't pay attention to that stuff as much in the NBA. But I know last year they were rumored to be like a second-round pick. I think that kid could be one of those guys that could be the next Draymond Green type of thing, to be honest with you. He's not Draymond Green. Doesn't play like that. But my point is, you just watch him play, and he plays big. Anyways, they had a good win. They beat Gonzaga. OSU won back-to-back wins. Yep. I'll go on my rant about Purdue another time. They had another terrible loss in Austin. The Boilermakers basketball team is really frustrating me. So I'll help the podcast numbers by not talking about that too much. But if people want to know, yes, the Purdue losses are bothering me as a basketball fan. It's driving me insane. And I don't like how they play at 6 o'clock on a Sunday when you're trying to do family dinners and stuff. Please schedule your games around me. That'd be great. Thank you.
You've got real scheduling issues with this year's college basketball lineup.
I am not a fan of these 3 o'clock on Saturday, NFL Sunday. So I wanted to watch Gonzaga, Tennessee. I would have watched that game. Put it on at noon on Saturday. Like, by the way, here's my example. What's on noon on Saturday next week? Villanova, Kansas. I'll watch the whole game. Can't wait. Can't wait. Putting these games on at 3 o'clock. Come on. Sunday? Come on.
I don't know. I'm looking forward to Youngstown State, Ohio State on Tuesday. That's where I'm at.
Let me just say, the Big Ten is quietly looking like still the best conference so far. Very, very good group of teams. Duke is obviously shines out still because of all the talent they have on the floor. But they did lose to Gonzaga early, so it gives teams hope. But, you can tell even outside that, like, you watch some of his results come in. Kentucky had a goofy loss to Seton Hall. They're one of the better teams in the SEC, obviously. You see these other teams kind of get pinched in these certain moments. Marquette, by the way, Marquette with a good win against Whiskey. Wisconsin lost in overtime. That was a good basketball game on Saturday night. By the way, Saturday at 5 o'clock, I watched the whole thing. So those are the kind of things I'm noticing really, Jared, in the Big Ten. But, we should wrap up on the Browns. I did not think coming in this podcast when I woke up today we'd be talking about possible playoff hunt, but because of the Browns winning and because of the developments with Lamar Jackson starting to get injured already for the Ravens and with the Raiders beating the Steelers, we're here. It's not crazy. Long road to go, but it's not crazy.
And as we know, anything can happen in the playoffs. You just got to get there.
And
I think that Hunt being out with Kansas City is going to be a huge problem for them in the playoffs. That is not going to be the same Kansas City team in the playoffs. It's just not going to be. So, that opens it up more for New England than anybody. But at the same time, you just got to get there. One bite at a time. Woo.
Yes, I agree. Chisel that out. And the Steelers need to lose these next 2 games, in my opinion. So I think they'll beat the Bengals in the year. Last guess. Bauer or Kluber, who will be traded by the next time we do this podcast? Or will need to be traded?
I'm going to try to be as unbiased in this as possible. This isn't who I want. This is what I think. But it does happen to be who I want as well. So I really do think that it's going to end up being Bauer. I think that they're going to have trouble packaging it with Kipnis. I think it might be Bauer only, and I think that you got to there's going to be some teams that are going to give you as much as they would give you for Kluber that need pitching. I think that that's the way to go.
Yep, I think you're right. I think it's going to be Bauer. I think if Kipnis does go, it'll be Kipnis and Kluber. You kind of hit down the head the last week. I agree with you. Kipnis and Bauer. I don't see that happening. Kipnis and Kluber, I think, is possible. But, again, you're still going to take a hit here and there. I agree with you. I think it's going to be Bauer. I think Bauer will be gone by Friday.
All right, we'll talk about it on Friday or Saturday, and we'll see if we were right.
It'll be interesting. And, I just want to give us kudos for talking this walkie-talkie podcast today.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back.
Out there, we could kudos to you.
I'm going to have to go back when I edit this podcast and take a listen to see if I can pinpoint where, depending on how wonky I sound right now, where it comes from. Because anyone who watches on Facebook, I have headphones on. I'm monitoring audio, but it's Andy's only. My audio does not cut through here. It goes straight out through the broadcast. So,
notice how it's my audio gets cut out. Just saying, just observing from far. But no. I do want to end on I'm the best at this podcast. I'd love to end the show 3 different times, but I'll end on the 3rd time here.
It's all right.
I'm so excited about this game Saturday night against Denver. So excited about this game. So excited. I would have been excited anyways. I am now on pins and needles excited because we won't know what's going on with the Steelers game yet. And that game on Saturday night's got a lot of juice.
Yeah, I think I'm going to turn it into an in-home tailgate this coming Saturday. So that's the way I'll do it. And I think I'm going to do my famous wings. And then hopefully pull out a Browns win. I'll leave it at that. Andy, let's enjoy this win and catch up throughout the week, and we'll get ready for Saturday night. He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. This is Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. And go Browns, folks. We're still in the hunt. Take care. Have a great night or day. Say night when it's a podcast. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Take care. Hey, don't forget to follow Andy and Jared, Cleveland and Beyond on Facebook at facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond, and on Twitter at CLE and Beyond. That's at CLE and Beyond. On Twitter, you can also shoot us an email, andyandjared@gmail.com. Looking forward to hearing your comments.